have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tyler Werner Show, talking Philadelphia sports, right here at Kutztown Radio, mainly, obviously Philadelphia Eagles, when you want to talk Philadelphia sports. As right now, there's just not really anything else to talk about other than the Philadelphia Eagles in this preseason, which is leading up to a very big 2014 campaign for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I mean, for those that watch the game or have been listening, hearing around, I mean, obviously, some people have their concerns about the way the Eagles performed overall, in this first preseason game. And I know there's some people on this one side of the fence that it's only preseason, it doesn't really matter, and people on the other side of the fence that are just, absolutely bewildered about some of the things that happened in this first preseason game here for the Philadelphia Eagles in this 2014 season. And, to some degree, I mean, this first preseason game, I mean, win-losses in the preseason, I mean, who cares? I mean, a couple of years ago, what was it, when the Eagles went 4-12, I think, ironically, they were 4-0 in the preseason, and lo and behold, they would go, 4-12, when it came to the regular season the last year with Andy Reid. Now, win-loss. So, I mean, from a win-loss perspective, I mean, who cares? I mean, as long as you're not getting destroyed and, shut out like maybe say the Houston Texans 32-0, there shouldn't be any huge issue as far as wins and losses go when it comes. But I look at how guys are moving on the field and how guys are performing, obviously, and obviously you look longer in the game, and you see third and fourth team guys out there just trying to make the team. Really, I mean, trying to make the cut as they cut, down the stretch of the preseason, they cut it down to 53 guys on the roster, and so that's already, that's really what all that's really worth when you talk about later in this first preseason game. And obviously, you got some first teamers coming out for the Eagles. I mean, receiving core as far as that goes for the Eagles, they didn't have everybody out there as Riley Cooper has been recovering. Yesterday, he did practice in a limited capacity, as they are right now. They're having this week. They have their joint practices with the New England Patriots, who they're going to face in their next preseason game this coming Friday once again. It's odd having a football Friday. Nevertheless, 2 weeks in a row. It's just weird having preseason football on a Friday. Obviously an odd day that in the regular season you never have football games on a Friday, but it's a little different. I mean, you got to wait, until 4 days later, at least for me on this show, to really break things down when it comes to preseason games. But nevertheless, I mean, they're practicing with the New England Patriots this week, having joint practices last year, which were rather interesting. When you have Kerry Williams, starting a fight last year, I think it was during the with the New England Patriots. Kerry Williams on very vocal on this Eagles defense. He's had some not so good things to say about the New England Patriots earlier last week. I think Tuesday, Wednesday or so, kind of calling out the Patriots as cheaters with the whole Spygate thing and this and that. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll take a look a little later on the show, see what's going on, if there's any breaking news or anything like that, anything coming out of these joint practices with the New England Patriots. When you got a guy like Kerry Williams who is not very fond of the organization, to say the least. Now, the temptation, of course, for those that saw the game, they look at Nick Foles throwing 2 interceptions, and the temptation, of course, is some people, oh my God, he threw he threw as many interceptions in those 2 preseason snaps or series than he did the entire season last year, and this and that, and we'll go over it play by play, at least as far as what I saw with the starters. Pretty much, I took some play by play notes. Get just a pretty good idea of the tone of each drive in the first quarter and some of the second quarter. I mean, after eventually you get the second teamers out there for a little while, and then the game is kind of just, all right, let's see what we got with these backup guys. See if anybody shows us something. As people are essentially fighting for their jobs at that point in the football game when you talk preseason game 1. Now, of course, in the next couple preseason games, I mean, you're going to get more guys out there that are starters playing more of the game. Game 3, you're going to see, I think, the majority of the game, you'll see the starters out there. So, but as far as this first preseason game goes, I look at, we'll go through it play by play. Foles is obviously has been the main topic of discussion because of throwing 2 interceptions that alarm many people. Now I bear in mind that they haven't been hitting in practice or anything. I mean, obviously, the quarterback wears the red jersey in these off-season practices because to indicate, you don't tackle this guy. You want to keep the quarterback healthy, obviously. So obviously, Foles has not been in game situations or anything since last season where he's had to worry about possibly getting sacked and this and that. So I mean, it may have come off as if on those 2 interceptions that Foles was forcing the ball out a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I've heard from Eagles beat reporter Tim McManus that watching him in training camp, he would actually give Foles a C grade thus far. This was as of late last week, from what I heard. Tim McManus say he's looked average basically in training camp. So that's definitely one thing. I mean, there's still guys on this roster shedding off some rust. For example, maybe the offensive line. There were a lot of holding calls on the offensive line, the Eagles offensive line. Obviously, they're missing Lane Johnson until several games into this coming season due to his suspension with PEDs, getting caught doing those, so doing whatever. So he's not going to be present for a while, and I think that might have hurt. I mean, they had the guy, his replacement Barbary in there, and he wasn't looking too sharp. And in general, we'll go. I got a lot of notes here, play by play, that we'll go through, and my general consensus is, at least on Nick Foles, is that he made some nice throws that you would expect him to make, and again, I mean, he there were a couple throws he made, and then because of a holding call or something, the play was called back. There was obviously on the interceptions, I think the second one, it looked like somebody caught a piece of it. And the bottom line, I think, is that again, he was forcing the ball out. He didn't want to take a sack, and I think last year that was one of the main criticisms of Nick Foles, that he would hold on to the ball too long, and as a result, he would take a sack, and a 3rd and 9 would become a 3rd and 18 or something like that, and it would push things back a little more, and it would kill a drive, crucial drives, and again, might go from a 3rd and 9 to a 4th and 18, and kill a drive like that, push you back, maybe affect the battle of field position a little bit, and obviously that was a main thing of concern as far as Nick Foles is concerned, holding on to the ball too long. So obviously, maybe the fact that now he's got to get back in the groove of, okay, I can now get tackled here. This is a preseason game. It's game situations, whether it's preseason or regular season. He's got to get back into the groove of, guys are going to tackle me now if they can, if I'm holding on to the football too long. And so I think that was part of it, forcing the ball out. Obviously, it's something that, he might have to work on. And again, I mean, the offensive line here, they looked rusty. They definitely looked like they had a hole in, not having Lane Johnson there. The guys out there that haven't really been making contact. Chip Kelly, I mean, as far as the defense goes and everything, they don't, in the offseason, they don't want hitting, I guess, or mainly training camp and these practices and, which is, his theory there is that, guys aren't getting battered around too much and, when they don't need to be. And I guess it doesn't, throughout the regular season, I guess it piles on. And, I guess that's part of why you can explain, one part of why you can explain that, this team stayed pretty healthy last year. You could also turn it around and say maybe that's why the tackling is shoddy at times, and especially early last season, and at times in this game yesterday. So I mean it's give or take there, I guess you could say, as far as that goes. So with the offensive line, they're you got to adjust to the game situation here with this first preseason game, and obviously things did not look too good from the offensive line, an offensive line that was great last year, essentially, with Lane Johnson, of course, who wasn't in the mix in this first preseason game and won't be in the mix until the middle of the NFL season, the regular season. So obviously that's there's some concern there. In case you haven't figured it out, I mean, first preseason game, I'm not overreacting yet, but if some of these weaknesses, which I'll talk about more in the show, continue, we will then, obviously then I'll show concern when I think, there needs to be more concern. Obviously, as far as me reacting goes, just watching the games and, watching play by play, see what happens. Of course, I didn't even, really touch on the defense and how they play. I mean, one of the best wide receiver tandems in the NFL as far as, the starters goes. When the Eagles are trying to defend Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall, Matt Forte in there. The Bears' backup tight end, Martellus Bennett, looking pretty darn good for, Zach Miller for the, was I guess the guy that was taking Martellus Bennett's place, because of course last week Martellus Bennett got suspended from Bears camp for body slamming Kyle Fuller. I saw the footage of that, and that's a little gruesome there. But anyways, we got to head to the first break, so we'll discuss plenty of more detail with the first preseason game, because I took time to break down play by play when it came to the starters. So I could take a pretty fair look at what went down. However much it totally matters in the grand scheme of things. So we'll take a look at that when we come back. I'm producerless today, I guess you could say. No producer, no Mike. He's away right now, and so Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show is the way to get in discussion on this show. Like usual, give your thoughts. Are you concerned about, after this first preseason game, if you are concerned, how concerned, on like a 1 to 10 scale or something like that. Again, right now I'm a little concerned. Like, some guys looked rusty out there, and But then again, I mean, we'll learn more in these next couple of preseason games as we move through the NFL preseason, and we'll continue to discuss it right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio.
Email any suggestions to kur@kutztown.edu. Complaints, concerns, questions, whatever you may be thinking at the time, it's kur@kutztown.edu.
Hi, hon. I thought you were coming home early.
Yeah,
What's the matter? What happened?
and I realized today just how much I really love you.
What do you mean?
I almost got killed today.
Oh, my God.
I was rushing home to catch the game. There was a train coming. I thought I could beat it.
Oh, Billy.
I was just about to go around the gate. Something made me slam on the brakes.
Oh, thank God.
Coffee went everywhere.
I'm so glad you're all right.
Wasn't worth the risk. Never see you again. Never smell your hair.
I don't even say that.
Never see you walk.
I love you.
I'm sorry.
It takes a mile for a train to stop. Don't try to beat a train, or someone you love will get hurt. Look, listen, and live. This message brought to you by Operation Lifesaver and this station.
.322 right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio, talking all kinds of Eagles preseason discussions here on the Tyler Werner Show today, and obviously noticeably less with other Philadelphia sports issues right now. After a basically silent trade deadline for the MLB, at least on the end of the Philadelphia Phillies, there's just been nothing really to talk about with the Phillies, obviously. In light of also this preseason, heating up. I mean, football is back, really. I mean, people love their football, and that's why preseason, virtually all preseason games are getting replayed at some point on the NFL Network. So it seems to me, you got all kinds of, all kinds of stuff going on over the weekend, even aside from preseason football. Just to take a little aside here from the Eagles talk. For those who at this point, when it comes to golf, I mean, if you watched the PGA Championship last week, I mean, or this past weekend, I mean, and you didn't admire the competition that was going on between Rory McIlroy and Jim Furyk was in the mix. And Phil Mickelson. You're just not fair to the the world of golf, I guess you could say. I mean, if there's anybody that's still on that side of the fence that, I only watch golf because, when Tiger Woods is in it, I want to see him win another major. I don't know. I mean, that ship might have sailed. I mean, as far as Tiger Woods goes, I mean, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know. He struggled early on in the tournament. I'll look a little later on and we'll discuss. But and then I think he just ended up pulling out again.
Yesterday I did pull out.
Vintage Tiger Woods, in a sense, and I was talking about it last week. If Rory McIlroy won this PGA Championship tournament, I mean, in three, just to compete in three golf tournaments and win 3 straight, win them all 3 straight. I mean, that's impressive, and obviously he just won his second major in a row. He's been on fire, and again, it just continues to go back to, he ditched his ex-fiance, I guess you could say, and since then things have been looking up for Rory McIlroy. So we'll take a little more of a look on that later. Of course, obviously, this past weekend, there's the big incident regarding NASCAR driver with Tony Stewart. What was it? Apparently, I mean, in a dirt track race Saturday night or whatever. It wasn't even a NASCAR event. Essentially, running over a guy. I mean, I looked at the footage of it. Now, as far as the guy that got out of the car, I don't know. I was trying to look it up earlier, and we're actually having some slight internet issues right now here in the studio. But I looked at the footage, and Tony Stewart. I mean, apparently has had all kinds of issues with in the past with outraging other drivers, just getting in fights and stuff like that. And I look here at what happened, and I don't necessarily, the guy that he kind of cut off. I mean, I don't think he tried to try to cut the guy off. Looking at the footage, I mean, it was the back tire that kind of caused the guy to spin out next to him. But the guy gets out of the car as these these other cars are flying by. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Jeff Foxworthy might have some new material in his comedy routines here.
You might be a redneck.
After what happened there on the track. I mean, again, it goes back to road rage, things I've hinted on this show, and I guess that happens in NASCAR and in racing somehow, but I mean, again, it's just, you can't get out of a car like that, and I mean, seriously, I mean, who does that? I mean, and you got these other cars whizzing by, probably trying to avoid the guy. Not only that, I mean, he was dressed in pretty. It was dark at night, and he was dressed in dark clothing. I mean, normally, you're wearing like this fluorescent orange, so that you could be clearly seen on the track and everything. And I don't know, this guy's in dark clothing, but I guess he apparently, he tried to get back at Tony Stewart here, and essentially what basically happened is, these cars are whizzing by, and it's tough to tell, depending on the video footage, how much, maybe Tony Stewart in what he intended to do here. I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, there's audio from the one video where it sounds like he revved up his engine, which I guess was kind of evidenced by his car suddenly speeding up. But I guess maybe that was to do as intimidation or something, to intimidate this guy that's now standing in the middle of the road, trying to point his finger at Tony Stewart when he came by and this and that, and I guess a lot of consensus is that maybe Stewart tried to intimidate him, and maybe the guy in front of him veered out of the way, and that made it tough for Tony Stewart. Maybe Tony Stewart didn't think he was going to hit the guy, but he ended up hitting him, and obviously killing him. For those who saw the video footage, obviously discretion is advised.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean, two wrongs don't make a right, I guess, is the bottom line here. I mean, you don't get out of the car in the middle of a racetrack where there's all kinds of these cars whizzing by, and I guess in Tony Stewart's case, you don't try to intimidate somebody, and I guess try to make it so that you whiz right by them without hitting them. because in effect he hit the guy, and that's it's unfortunate, but it's just stuff that can easily be prevented. Obviously starting with not getting out of the car in the middle of a race like that, and again, maybe it goes back to road rage and this and that. I don't know, but the bottom line is, these wrongs here, they didn't make it right, obviously, and of course, then Tony Stewart would go on to not race the next day. He'd pull out of the NASCAR race that they were supposed to have.
Yesterday I did pull out.
And essentially, I think they didn't even end up having the race or whatever. Anyway, I don't know, but not that I don't even watch NASCAR or anything like that. But obviously, it was noteworthy, a noteworthy sports issue, and talked about here. And again, I don't know, but again, it's just one of those things. I mean, you don't get out of the car, even if you're say just driving down the highway and you think somebody cuts you off and you get out. I mean, it's stuff like that too. It just goes back to road rage and stuff like that. But anyhow, Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. If you want to share your thoughts on what Eagles preseason, and this racing incident. And, whatever's going on in the golf world, I guess you could say. I mean, that was some interesting golf, definitely. Coming down to the wire, Rory McIlroy is just on fire in the golf world right now. So good stuff for him. Now I want to start getting into these preseason notes that I took from the first game of the Eagles preseason. I have, first quarter, after two plays on the first drive here with the Philadelphia Eagles, this new Eagles offense, some new players on this Eagles offense. After two plays, the Chicago takes a timeout on D. I mean, the thing was, they're running this hurry up offense the entire game, and I don't know. They didn't do that last preseason, but here the entire game with each quarterback in there, they were running hurry up, no huddle, and so I don't know, but obviously this is wearing out Chicago's defense after the first two plays on the drive, so they take a timeout. Now in the next play after this play, or after this timeout, Foles almost gets sacked and almost throws a pick here. Now, next play, O-line draws a flag for holding. The play after that, Foles gets hurried again and throws a pick on 3rd and long, essentially. Now, so after this drive here, I kind of start my overall thoughts of the drive, and I'm thinking, okay, the Eagles O-line is having some issues here. Foles almost gets sacked, almost throws pick. O-line draws a flag for holding, a flag, one flag out of many that would get drawn for holding. And I don't quite remember which guy essentially it was, but it seemed like everybody at some point on the line was getting a flag for holding. So at the end of the day, I don't really care who it was. It's the bottom line is somebody is getting the protection is breaking down here, and the flag, they're drawing a flag, whatever. And then it results in Foles throwing a pick on 3rd and long. And again, I kind of made a theory earlier that as to Foles forcing the ball out and this and that. If anybody has any questions about that or whatever, share your thoughts. I'm not looking. I'm not. If Foles does not play well in the next preseason game, if he looks sloppy or whatever, he just doesn't look good, then I'll raise more concern on Foles. But this offensive line was, they just weren't. Obviously, they really looked rusty, and I don't know. Hopefully, that they shed off the rust in these practices with the New England Patriots this week and in the game on Friday, so that's what I thought with that. So that brought out the Eagles' defense. And, right off the bat, they have to defend the Bears in field goal range, but they force a 3-and-out. The Eagles get a piece of the field goal attempt that the Bears, made, and the kick is no good. So, right there, I mean, okay, good, good stuff. I mean, the defense was put in a bad situation, obviously, bad field position, and they force a 3-and-out. Good for them, and they blocked the field goal attempt. Now, so that brings Foles and the offensive starters back out. Generally the same area, ironically, is where they left off. Now, Selleck continued to be the main passing target on this drive. I noticed in the first drive he kind of was, and the second drive, Selleck continued to be the main target, having a pretty good preseason game. I noticed that Zach Ertz, I was waiting for Zach Ertz to be out there with the first team, and I didn't see him out there at all. They brought him out when Sanchez was out there quarterbacking, and they kind of had the second teamers in. Again, I mean, no twin tight end sets, which is something that, Chip Kelly, along with, James Casey, that was sort of the reason why they brought that tight end in last year. I maybe not using too much of that end of their playbook, I guess. So I don't know, but, Selleck looked pretty good on this drive. Once again, and, whereas the receiving core, Riley Cooper wasn't out there. He did, so he didn't even play. They're having Jordan Matthews, the rookie, out there, Brad Smith, Jeff Mayle in the mix, and obviously Jeremy Maclin, who's, right now, I don't know, he's only like half a Maclin, coming off of his injury. I mean, he was a little banged up last week, I believe, but so he was a little questionable last week heading into the game, but he played. A couple grabs out of him, but continuing on this drive here that I was talking about, Selleck continued to be the main target on this drive. Now you had a face mask and a holding call on the O-line on 2 straight plays. If I'm not mistaken, the face mask that came against Jeremy Maclin, and I think looking back at it, it shouldn't have been a face mask call. I don't know. It was maybe the referee's eyes missed it, I guess, in real time, but I don't know. And then yet another holding call on the O-line brings a 4th down. My general thought here again is, after this drive is over, is the O-line continues to be problematic. Now, we're running into the next break already, so we'll continue this. We'll finish off my notes here with the Philadelphia Eagles on the other side of this next commercial break. Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show for today, as again, discussing a lot of Eagles preseason talk here. Share your thoughts on that. Any concerns that obviously I'm kind of unraveling here as I go with these notes. So I'd love to hear any thoughts out there from listeners, and maybe what they expect out of this next preseason game against the New England Patriots. So with that in mind, this is the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio.
I'm Steve Majiri, host of KU Live. Tune in every Tuesdays at 2 p.m. for all things Kutztown University. We will discuss everything ranging from school news, sports, and upcoming events, along with frequent appearances from student government to discuss new policies. We will also have members of ACE, the Association of Campus Events, to come in weekly to discuss what new activities are coming to the university. Tune in to 1670 AM or listen to us online at www.kutztown.edu/KUR or on your smartphone by downloading the TuneIn app. You can also listen to us via any phone by calling 610-465-7860. KUR, the radio voice of Kutztown University.
Kutztown University's Department of Information Technology recently launched MyKU Mobile, which can be accessed at mykumobile.kutztown.edu. myku.kuckuitstown.edu. MyKU Mobile provides a quick way for students to view grades, financial aid information, announcements, and schedules, all from your phone. The new site also integrates with social networking sites, enabling students to post their schedules on Twitter and Facebook without ever having to use a computer. Make sure to visit myku.kutztown.edu for the best way to view MyKU on your phone.
.41 on the Tyler Werner Show on this rainy Tuesday afternoon here in the usual Tyler Werner Show time slot, 3 to 4, which is actually I think got next week Tyler Werner Show, and then after that I don't know. I think due to the semester starting up again and the fall semester. There's probably going to be a time change, and I don't know, that takes some time, so there might be a week or two without the Tyler Werner Show as we get into, as we begin the semester. So, I mean, I don't know, I might miss a week or two of analyzing the Eagles' preseason here.
Oh, no!
But then again, I mean, the fourth preseason game, I mean, I don't think that, has a whole lot of bearing on anything really, so again, I mean, who knows really how things are going to turn out with the schedule, but hopefully we'll have maybe the same Tuesday times, Tuesday at least for the show. I don't know, we'll wait and see how things go, but nevertheless, rolling on here with the training camp, training camp talk, and looking back on this past week's preseason showdown with the Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll pick up where I left off with that offensive drive. The O-line continued to be problematic in the second offensive drive. So now the Bears took over on their own 30 after another punt, after the first Eagles punt here in the game, because the first drive was ended due to an interception. Now, this time, after a good first defensive drive from the Eagles, this time I got this drive is a long drive that the Eagles might want to take note of here when you talk hurry up offense, or a matter of driving the ball down the field consistently. The Bears take over on their own 30. Now, first play, I mean, secondary, they can't cover Alshon Jeffrey on a 40-yard bomb. Now, they had offsetting, holding, and illegal contact calls. So the bottom line here is Alshon Jeffrey, one component of, one of the greatest wide receiver tandems in the NFL. Catching a 40-yard bomb, making it look easy over this Eagles secondary. Again, that doesn't surprise me when, this secondary doesn't look, really improved. Even, they brought in Malcolm Jenkins. That was about the only addition really this past offseason in the free agency market. And again, I mean, I'm not expecting a dramatic improvement here out of the secondary this season, so right off the bat, I'm not surprised here. Now, a beautiful one-handed grab on the next play by Brandon Marshall, wide open, and then a short gain on the next play. Good tackle for a loss by Connor Barwin on a run play on the next play. So yeah, I mean, again, secondary continues to be an issue, but then you get a good play out of Connor Barwin, tackle for a loss. Other than that, though, I mean, Connor Barwin, I mean, was kind of, I shouldn't just say Connor Barwin. The rest of the defensive line, the front seven, actually was not extremely impressive by any means. I mean, they, I look at, they didn't hurry Jay Cutler too much, really, actually. And, especially on this drive, that exposed the secondary. So, the pass rush, didn't get there too often. Often enough to mask the weakness that is this Eagles secondary. So, but still, I mean, Connor Barwin, he does have some ability out there, and a good tackle for a loss by Connor Barwin on a run play. Now it's a third and long completion on the next play for a first down to Brandon Marshall again. Defense called for holding. Again, not good there. Next play. The D-line pressures Cutler and it causes an overthrow. So that's if they get pressure on him, good things happen, but unfortunately that doesn't happen often enough the rest of this drive. The next play, Kerry Williams breaks up a pass. Maybe the best player on this secondary, but then again, I mean, that's like saying he's the skinniest guy in a group of fat guys. Maybe it would be the analogy there. Next play. Okay, next play, another third and long conversion to an open tight end, Dante Rosario, who's, again, behind Zach Milner. And Zach Miller's. I keep saying Milner, but I think that's because Dante Milner from the Jets got banged up last week or injured or whatever you want to call it. But Zach Miller, the tight end, and of course behind their obviously Bennett, who got suspended last week from the Bears due to his body slamming incident. So I mean, this is maybe like a second or third string tight end here. Now, next play, a holding call against the Bears brings them back. But then a 16-yard reception to another open Alshon Jeffrey. Obviously you can't let that happen. And then a first down pickup by Rosario once again at the left sideline. After that, a small pass gain. Next play, pass tipped by Eagles D-line. So, obviously, good stuff there. Because, again, I mean, it's as if the D-line has to make a play, or the front seven in general, or else the passing game, for the most part, is basically shot as far as pass coverage for the Eagles defense, unless you get the occasional pass breakup by Kerry Williams, which you should get, considering, he's coming from a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago with with the Ray Lewis defense. Now, next play, here's where the drive ends. Zach Miller catches a TD pass through D'Amico Ryans and Nate Allen as both of their backs are to Jay Cutler. Play is reviewed to see if Zach Miller's second foot came down in bounds, and it did. So I go to my overall thoughts on this drive. I look back here at the plays and everything, and essentially I have the secondary was suspect the entire drive, and they can't stop the Bears on third down. That was evident 3 or 4 times. And again, that was an issue last season. I mentioned that before. This defense, they could make 2 great plays, but at times they could make 2 great plays, but they can't get off the field on third down, and that's a problem, especially when the other team dominates the time of possession mark. And again, I mean, you can't get off the field on third down. You got a whole other set of downs. So that was a thought there. And then, of course, that brought out the PAT, and this is a little less relevant here, but I said, I still think this 33-yard PAT rule is not going to make a drastic difference as far as eliminating pointless plays in the game, which I kind of quote Commissioner Roger Goodell on that. I mean, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference as I watch some of these preseason games. I mean, at times the ball looks like it doesn't make it down the middle as much as it would if it was a regular extra point last year, but nevertheless, right now, that's what they're trying. They're trying 33-yard field goals as far as point after attempts goes. But again, I mentioned a long time in this show, if you want to if you want to eliminate pointless plays in the game due to it being a 99.6% or whatever efficiency rate, then, just have the option to just, elect to take an extra point right off the bat and just go right to the kickoff for the next drive, rather than kick a 33-yard PAT attempt. I mean, I still think that the efficiency for even a 33-yard PAT attempt is probably still going to be 95% or better. So, still it's going to be like 19 out of 20 times. It's still pretty much going to be, I guess a pointless and uninteresting play, but nevertheless, Eagles back with the ball on the next drive. All right, now maybe see how they can respond to now the Bears easily driving the ball down the field and scoring an easy touchdown pass with the second string tight end Zach Miller through two Eagles defenders that just had their backs to the Jay Cutler and it just didn't look like they were in the same league. Eagles back with the ball. And I notice here Josh Huff looks fast on these first couple of kick returns, but he's getting smothered pretty easily. Later on, at least, Josh Huff would go on to take one all the way to the house though for a touchdown. So there was a positive eventually, but he does look pretty fast, and that's at least for Josh Huff, it's a good thing. But again, I mean, he gets smothered, and they don't get great field position out of this kick return here on this drive. Now, first play, no gain by Sproles, but the Bears are flagged for a face mask. Next play, nice grab for MoMA. Again, I mean, this is missing Riley Cooper out there, so they're trying here. I guess they're trying, other players out there, other receivers.
Who is this?
Yeah, so a guy who's not very well known to the Philadelphia Eagle fan base, I guess you could say. Nice grab for him, albeit for 3 yards. Next play, a nice run by Sproles for the first down. Next play after that, another first down catch, this time by Macklin. So Macklin getting a little action in this game. Next play, Foles pressured again and throws another interception in a pack of players. Bears secondary seemed to want this ball more than the Eagles receivers here. And also, I mean, this was the one that I think got tipped slightly and, went in the hands of the Bears secondary. Again, Foles under pressure, maybe forces the ball a little bit, and, essentially what you have is another turnover here. My overall thoughts on this drive, another O-line breakdown and another interception. At least they drove the ball a little more this time, but, again, the O-line continued to be an issue here, and Foles throws another interception. I'm going to be looking, obviously this next preseason game against the Patriots, I'm going to be looking a little more to see if maybe this O-line improves a little more, albeit without Lane Johnson, and, that maybe they can be in more of a rhythm here, because that's something that they kind of struggled to get in all game. Now, of course, they used LaShawn McCoy on like one play, which I can understand why they're preserving him for they're preserving for the regular season, obviously.
I agree,
and I agree with you with that idea. And Darren Sproles was pretty decent this game. He had a nice pass reception. Now, getting back to the drive-by-drive notes here, the second stringers are brought out for the Bears offense at this point, so I kind of tuned out a little more. But Vinny Curry, he sacked a Bears backup QB and forced a punt on one play. On offense, he had Mark Sanchez taking on the second string defense at the Bears 45. They don't do much the first time. But then the second time Sanchez was back out, he made a nice big throw to Zach Ertz, Another pass to Ertz down to the 1-yard line. There was a side pass to James Casey, but they lost 3 yards on it. But then Matthew Tucker, he had a nice power run in the end zone for a touchdown. And later on, he had another nice few big runs for the Eagles offense on another drive, and he barreled in another touchdown run at the 1. So, power run game, kind of like Chris Polk, who's still recovering from his injury. Matthew Tucker, probably make the team as maybe the 4th string running back, unless maybe he surpasses Chris Polk. I don't know. We'll wait and see there. There's a drive here where, on defense, where the Bears' second team offense came back out and Zach Miller was still out there. He looks like a solid tight end. Nate Allen picked off an inaccurate throw from the backup quarterback. So, I'm not going to get too excited about that when you have Nate Allen playing against second-teamers and he picks off an inaccurate throw. It wasn't from Jay Cutler, so, it's not like I'm going to get too excited over that. But on the next defensive drive, the Eagles' backup defense, they bring out the pressure on the next drive, and they force a 3-and-out on that drive. So pretty good stuff out of that drive. And that's basically after that. It's kind of when I stopped with the notes taken. I figured, all right, now that's kind of just third teamers out and this and that, and I'm not going to get too crazy over anything else, really, and kind of just hold on for this New England Patriots game. For the, put more value in that, really, is basically where I'm going with that. So
it's time for Tyler Werner's call out of the week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all. What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser! Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yes, and I had to interrupt myself before the show winds down, and before I end the show without the call out of the week. This week, I may have hinted at it a little earlier. There wasn't anybody else really to call out this week. I wasn't going to call out a dead guy that guy who's dead now that ran out on the racetrack, essentially.
You might be a redneck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call that out, but I call out Tiger Woods, who, he missed the cut at the PGA Championship on Friday, and then decided not to play at this week's regular season finale. His bid to make the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs suffered a fatal blow. Thus, the 14-time major champion won't be teeing it up when the playoffs come to Cherry Hill for September 4th to 7th BMW Championship. So, only twice in his 19-year professional career has Woods played in the Denver area. Again, it says, we announced that we'd be hosting the BMW this year. Part of the excitement was that people in the Denver area would like to be able to see Tiger for the first time in over 10 years. Things have changed, and it's obviously disappointing as a golf fan. We'd love to have him here and playing well. Again, injuries happen in sports, and unfortunately Tiger wasn't able to overcome an injury this season. But the thing about the BMW and the FedEx Cup is we get the top 70 players no matter what. Tiger wasn't one of the top 70 players this year, but we're still getting Rory McIlroy and Adam Scott and Sergio Garcia. Guys who have been playing, obviously at the top of their game, especially Rory McIlroy. And again, it came back to the whole thing of, Tiger Woods started the PGA Championship tournament off on a bad foot, and then suddenly, that's when the back is starting to hurt, and comes back to that kind of common case of the Tiger Woods in the back injury. So, when he came back, from back surgery, initially, he had, his hopes were high, and everything seemed fine and well, but he's not playing well, and his play isn't caught on at all, and I guess it continues to be an issue, but I don't know. That's the state of Tiger Woods right now, and he's the guy that I got to call out this week after just not being in the mix at all, and just getting off to a bad start, and kind of going back to the whole back injury thing. So that's the bottom line. I mean, I could, if I was over exaggerating, I'd call out maybe the Eagles' offensive line, but then again, I mean, it's first preseason game. If maybe poor play continues out of this Eagles team, I give them a pass for this first preseason game, but hopefully there's a better showing now that they're back in the groove here, playing, back to full contact football with in-game situations. Hopefully we see a more solid outing out of Nick Foles, so maybe he can put some of this worry to rest that has come out definitely in the past week, and maybe hopefully we'll have some better things to talk about, next week here in the Tyler Werner Show with the Eagles, this Eagles football team. Although then again, I think Tom Brady when he's out there is going to shred apart this Eagles secondary. But other than that, that'll hopefully the Eagles perform more up to par in this next preseason game. We'll be right back here to talk about it on the Tyler Werner Show as always next week. Thanks for listening. Catch the podcast on Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, and enjoy the Eagles preseason game. We'll be back to